Thank you.
Well, we are back, and so I want to just, for the folks that are here that have joined us here today, just to let you know, this is an unusual circumstance because what we are at right now in our meeting is our comments period from staff. And one of the staff members, our assistant county administrator, is going to be returning information that the board directed them in regards to code enforcement, in how we enforce our codes. There were allegations that were raised, and that will, I believe, they're going to be addressing that allegations of some of the techniques and things that have been alleged. How code enforcement operates. So that is what is here. But I also know that a lot of you have come down. You spent a fair amount of your time here with us today, and out of a courtesy for you, because we normally don't have, there is no public comment on staff presentations to us like this. But as a courtesy to you all, what we're going to do is we're going to allow everybody who has submitted a card, and I think we have about 40 cards here. We'll give you each a minute, and I'm not sure if give you a minute to speak. We'll have Commissioner Bernard will have you, I think he's going to call 4 names at a time, and you'll make your way, and please stand behind the person that's speaking. So we want to make this as expeditious as possible and give you the courtesy of allowing you to speak to us this afternoon. Once that's completed, staff will then make their comments or presentation to us. It'll come to the board if there's anything the board wants to do with the information that's been presented. So that's how we're going to proceed this afternoon. And just also, I have a hard stop at 3 p.m. I think some of other commissioners have some other commitments as well, but I'll be serving on the canvassing board. We actually do have another election today in the city of Boynton Beach. They had a runoff election, so I'll be helping over at the counting center with that this afternoon. So here we go. And so do you want to explain what your report's going to be about and what you're going to cover?
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. Yes, very briefly, we've got a number of staff here, Wendy and Lisa from zoning. You see them, Michelle Pagan, our code director, Rick Torrance, deputy director, code manager, Richard Sina from county attorney's office. 3 parts that we're going to be presenting to you today: an overview of the code enforcement division, part 1, part 2. Myself and the county administrator give you some background on investigation and what we looked at, information that's out there related to activities in the acreage, and then part 3 on commercial vehicle. Lisa will run through presentations similar to what we had done back in the spring last year related to it, and be there to take any direction you might have on potential changes to the ULDC as it relates to vehicles. So those three parts, a lot of information to share with you.
Thank you very much. All right, so go ahead, Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to start with Risa McCrary, followed by Angelique Contreras, followed by Mason McCrary.
Okay, I need you all to come forward. Oh.
I think we should start with the presentation first.
No, because in case something comes up, they can respond to it in their presentation.
I put my card in last, so I'd prefer the people that have been waiting the longest to be able to speak before me.
I was just trying to get the folks with the babies, so that's all.
Well, thank you, Mac.
That's so nice.
Before I start my minute, can I just say one thing? Prior to today's meeting, we were advised that likely there would be no speaking allowed. And so a vast majority of the people who oppose this are not in attendance because they believed that there would be no speaking. So that being said, any decision made today needs to consider that.
Start our minute.
Thank you. So, as always, thank you for to the commissioners. Trucks and semis have never been allowed. Well, semis have never been allowed. We welcome a commercial vehicle as stated by the code. The code never changed. This has been grossly misrepresented. I do not want to live in an HOA. That's why I moved to where I moved to. We live in a rural community, and we'd like to keep it that way. We do not want to live in a industrial or commercial area. So please do not allow commercial uses within the rural and agricultural areas. I think it's very funny that their shirts say, "Save our agriculture," when these businesses are not agricultural. Thank you.
So we have Mason McCrary, followed by Jorge Garcia, followed by Drew Martin.
Hi, good afternoon. I believe I heard George Garcia.
Yes.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure I was walking in as I heard my name. Good afternoon. My name is George Garcia. I live over on Royal Palm Beach Boulevard and Mellow Court in the acreage area. I've been a resident there for 20 years. Fortunately or unfortunately, I bought during the last boom. Things weren't quite as expensive as today, but they were very expensive in 2004. And I sold a lot of rental properties and a home that I had in Lake Worth and Cocoa Plum next to Winston Trails to be able to live out in the acreage because I have a small home-based business that I operate out of my home. And I went to the county and I asked questions. They told me I could have a business tax receipt. Back then it was an occupational license, and that I could operate small business from my home, that I could not do manufacturing, but I could leave every morning out of there and go to work and it wouldn't be an issue. I am a fence installer. I have one son that's also a fence installer, and the other one is a landscaper, does lawn maintenance. So we have.
Thank you
two
very
F250.
much, sir. Your minute is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have Drew Martin, followed by Brandon Batch, followed by Sam DeFazio. Mason?
We don't have anybody here to speak.
Yes.
I would just like to say thank you, Code Enforcement, for making my neighborhood safe enough for me to ride my horses and bikes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Drew Martin, followed by Brendan Batch, followed by Sam DeFazio, followed by David E. Sykes.
If I could ask you, if your name is called, if you would make your way to the microphone prior to the next group of people being called, this will help speed these things up for us. Appreciate your cooperation. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sam DeFazio. I live in Jupiter Farms off 130th Avenue, and we're here to oppose having any kind of commercial restrictions put on what is existing now. I built my house out there in 1989. I operate a general contracting company out of my house, which not necessarily is in my yard, but I still have, one or two trucks there. And I'm hearing that I'm no longer going to be allowed to do that. I've had an occupational license there for 33 years. You know, why is it that we're subject to change at this point? So we've got a bunch of people who are doing this out of their vanity, basically. And I actually have a business that feeds my family. Why am I being forced to go out of that? No questions. All right, thanks.
Thank
So we
you.
have Brandon Batch, followed by David E. Sykes, followed by Bob Berman.
I'm Dave Sykes.
Go ahead,
I've
sir.
lived out in the acreage since early 90s and have a business, small business, construction, have trucks and trailers. My yard's very nice and well kept. You look at it, but we should be able to keep more than one trailer and more than one truck. If you look at my house, it's $1 million house and kept very nice. And I think it needs to be looked at because you're kind of running small businesses out of the county when you take all these rules and change them on us. So I appreciate y'all looking at it. Thank you.
We have Brendan Batch, followed by Bob Berman, followed by Debbie Olivia, followed by Blaze Uriarte.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Bob Berman. Live at 6731 Donald Ross Road, Palm Beach Country Estates. I'm also the Secretary of the Palm Beach Country Estates Landowner Association, and by a vote of the Board of Directors of the association, on behalf of myself, we would oppose any changes to the AR zoning district. Palm Beach Country Estates is zoned AR, and despite the AR designation, the property was, and I can speak for Palm Beach Country Estates and Jupiter Farms. I'm a realtor. I've sold over 9,000 lots in both of those areas. That area was planned, developed, and sold strictly as residential. And so I think we're comfortable with the existing regulations. They need to be enforced, and we would oppose any changes to AR zoning. Thank you very much.
Hello, Councilman. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. I'm sorry I lost my voice a couple of weeks ago having too much fun on a cruise. For the record, I am a landowner in Jupiter Farms, and I support the relief and removal of current code that disallows trucks over 12,500 pounds. Trucks over 12,500 pounds should be allowed in a rural community. Some trucks that have sand in them on a normal truck can go over 12,000 pounds. As a conduct of your investigation into the practices of various departments, I feel it's even more pressing matter to discuss the misuse and force as well as the selective and harmful tactics being used to zone your building and code and zone enforcement. Your citizens are hurting and our own Palm Beach County government is to blame for that. That is not okay. Another thing that I want to bring up to your attention is I in no way, shape, or form have given anybody in Jupiter Farms the authority to represent any of us. There is 4,800 homes out there,
Thank you, ma'am.
and we do not allow that.
Thank you,
Okay?
ma'am.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
So we have Blaze Uriarte, followed by Pamela Banks.
Hello, good afternoon. First off, thank you for hearing us. Second off, my name's Blaze. I live out in the acreage, and I'm here to impose code enforcement of restrictions on commercial vehicles on our acre-plus size lots. Mainly because I feel like the arguments posed by our neighbors in regards to this are a bit superfluous. And I could go down the line, but I only have a minute, so I'll keep it short. Basically, it's because they subjectively don't like how trucks look. But trucks can look like this, okay? And when does it stop? Are they going, I don't like pink cars, okay? So should there be a code to say that we can't have pink cars? No. You guys are in charge of the health and safety of the community, and there's no argument for health and safety that coincides with this restriction.
Thank you.
So we have Pamela Banks, followed by Jack Cirincione.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Pamela Banks, and I don't live in Loxahatchee or Royal Palm Acreage or the Indian River District. I live west of 441 on a 5-acre parcel surrounded by 30 other homes that are on 5 acres. We are zoned agricultural residential, which residential is what it's all about. We moved out there to raise our families and to have our horses or whatever kind of animals or whatever growth we want to do. For those trucks to come into our neighborhood, semi-trucks or whatever they may be, they infringe our lifestyle. Our lifestyle is under attack. We've already dealt with the landscapers with 40 and 50 vehicles, which we came in front of this board about a year ago. They turn their heads to what the rules and regulations are. We are small business owners as well, my husband and I. We follow the rules. I want to live in a residential neighborhood that is safe for my family. We don't have sidewalks. Our roads are not big enough for semis or tractor trailers to commerce.
Thank you, ma'am.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We have Jack Cirincione, followed by Louis Albin.
My name is Jack Cirincione. I live in Jupiter Farms. Our lifestyle is being attacked by rules saying that we can't have boats, we can't have campers, we can't have things. That's wrong. That's why I moved out there, so I could have the fun things that make my life enjoyable. And my life is not, my lifestyle is being attacked. There's a supposed association called the Jupiter Farms Residents Association that is claiming to represent us. They do not represent the vast majority of residents in Jupiter Farms. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you.
So we have Louis Albin, followed by Neil Elkin, followed by Mark A. Baker.
Good afternoon. This is Louis Albin, live on Jupiter Farms. I just wanted to voice my opposition against this restrictions you're placing here. I'm speaking probably for the majority of the farms. We moved to this neighborhood to enjoy a certain lifestyle, and now it's being infringed upon, and I'm not okay with that, and I don't think the majority of the residents are okay with that. And that's about it.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm a landscaper from Heritage Farms, 18 years. We got thrown off the property from code enforcement approximately a year and a half ago, moved to an industrial area to park our stuff, and code enforcement showed up there to our new landlord saying that landscapers couldn't be there. So that was industrial. We then moved to West Palm Beach, which is now an hour ride each way to take care of properties in Boca and Delray. Everyone at these meetings over the last 5 years said you have to go east. Everyone said go east, go east. There's no east. There is no land anywhere on Dixie Highway, Federal, or Congress to move our companies to. So it's a big problem, and someone's got to fix where landscapers can park. If it's not west of 441, maybe it's east of 441, but it's got to be somewhere. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Can you state your name?
Neil Elkin.
Thank you.
Mark A. Baker. Been a landscaper in Palm Beach County for starting 40 years. I have anywhere from 80 to 90 employees to one time up to 160. Then I got my first DRO 30-some years ago, so it limited how much vehicles I could keep on my property. I'm currently involved with another DRO at the end of Boynton Beach Boulevard. My first one cost me about $25,000. I'm at over $250,000, and I haven't even gotten approved yet. There's a problem. My next problem that I need help ASAP on is code enforcement came out after Amerigrow was lost, walked into my yard, where I've been for 30-some years, paying everything that I am supposed to, creating probably $250 million worth of revenue, taxable revenue for you guys. And I'm being evicted off this property because code enforcement says
Thank you, sir.
what I used to be is not today's standards.
Thank you, sir.
So we have Henry Tenzer, followed by Jill Malman, followed by Cassandra Lyle.
Hank Tanzer. You just talked to my partner. I've talked to most of you except for the newest two commissioners, and I was always told there was light at the end of the tunnel, and that light of the tunnel went out. It's black. It's grim. I am trying to sell my company, trying to sell my land, and what the commissioners don't realize that your constituents are going to get increased bills going forward because the landscapers are being forced out of the area. There is no place. Past commissioners has told us where we should go. I've looked and looked and looked and can't find. Once we get to the north end of the county to try and help out the south end of the county, it can't happen. There's no place. You have many, many people that are hiding in the woods right now where code enforcement isn't getting them. Buckley has his own agenda. I feel he has his own agenda, and he goes after select people. If you're going to go after people, go after everyone. Thank you.
So we have Jill Malman, followed by Cassandra Lyle, followed by Pia Scorin.
Hello, Jill Malman. In November of 2021, after 5 years of fighting, Bet Holdings had their fines wiped. All that remained on their land in Heritage Farms was a tree farm, a building, and 2 cars. 2 months later, they started receiving monthly violation notices that an audit had been done and they were no longer in compliance. I went to Buckley's office. He said that he had received complaints from the neighbors. I showed him a nursery registration showing that we met Florida Statute 581.13, signed by Nicole Freed. He said that doesn't matter. I asked him to go to his computer to tell us what was in there, why were they not in compliance. He folded his arms, he was visibly angry. He said, we can end the meeting now. I can't get involved in every little thing. I need an assistant. I would like your staff to look at the records to see what was in his notes. Why is it that they were not in compliance? I'm a former federal, civil, and criminal litigator. My clients received more due process than these guys did. This is not fair.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So we have Cassandra Lyle, followed by Pia Scorin, followed by Hennerland. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Cassandra Lyle. As a Florida native and resident of Jupiter Farms, I'm here to speak for myself in support for a change to allow residents the freedom to park a commercial or work vehicle on their property. There are very few havens left for hardworking small business owners and farmers. Many workers need work vehicles that are considered commercial. This includes tractors, large trucks, landscape machinery, food trucks, and semis. We're not asking for a change in our zoning, but for a change in our code to give more freedom to property owners. And also, I want to say, I know that some people have been saying they speak for the residents of Jupiter Farms, and there's a Jupiter Farms Residents Committee. There isn't one. No one's been voted in, and no one has been voted to speak for us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for doing the report for us and reviewing our situation. I moved to the acreage 33 years ago. We came for less rules, but not no rules. We have a petition signed by 90 people. We just started. We hope we don't have to continue. We want the board to know we are not in favor of tractor trailers parking on 1 1/4 plus or minus acre lots. Changing the existing code would have a negative impact on our rural lifestyle that we cherish. We are in favor of a county lot for tractor trailers, maybe even for landscape trucks. We believe that's a compromise solution where everyone wins. Because they're not allowed, big trucks have been discreet in our area in the past. Now some truckers are pushing to have several tractor trailers in front yards, on front swales, etc. Allowing one tractor trailer on several lots or allowing multiple tractor trailers on one lot would change the complexion of our neighborhood from rural to industrial. Tractor trailers are not a majority in our community. To get support, they have been scaring residents, telling us we will not be able to keep our small commercial vehicles
ma'am.
and toys.
Thank
We
you.
see no evidence of that.
Thank
We
you, ma'am.
respectfully ask you
Ma'am.
not to change the code. Thank you.
So we have
Keeley.
Keeley, sorry. And Natalia Millian, followed by Ricardo Alonso.
I'm Keeley Haverland, third generation farmer in Palm Beach County, also president of Florida Nursery Grower and Landscape Association, Palm Beach chapter. This landscape situation's been going on for 6 years now. You guys promised these guys DROs, a fair DRO process. None of them have DROs. How is that fair? 6 years later, you hear these guys are getting evicted, they're losing their properties. I myself got thrown off of my property, and you just approved it today to be industrial on today's agenda. So what a slap in the face that is. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Natalia Milian. I just want to point out something really quick. You can probably trust the commercial driver CDL holder more than you can trust a regular resident with a driver's license, because we are trained, we are professionals, we know what we're doing, we're not hurting anyone. I have 2 kids in my home, and I am not posing any danger to my residents. I just wanted to make that clear. We are hardworking individuals suffering the changes in the ordinances. We have gone into financial hardships, building garages, structure, fencing our property, according to code enforcement. That was their direction to follow. If we can't see it, we can't cite it. How are you going to tell us now, after all the struggles we've been facing, that we have to remove everything, we have to lose our businesses? You can't just go around after decades without enforcing something and all of a sudden change the way of life for a whole community that has invested in their property, and the businesses is the only source of income most of us have. I want you all to please take in consideration that we are begging for your help, and I've been here since 2019 asking for a change, and I hope you guys can see we are very hardworking individuals. I'm sorry, my heart's racing a million
Thank you
beats a
very
minute.
much, ma'am.
So Ricardo Alonso, followed by Carolyn Abbey, followed by Matthew Gitkin.
My name is Ricardo Alonso from Loxahatchee. I'm a truck driver as well, over 1 million miles recorded in the United States. We are asking you to support us because we don't have anywhere to go right now. We are right now, when we have the driver decrease the big one in the last 2 decades. So we don't have any place where to go. We has been harassed by code enforcement. I have been harassed by Ramsey Buckley. I don't know why you guys don't do anything to him, where you hear a lot of complaints, even from Loxahatchee, Jupiter's, and all the places, landscapers around. And I respect my community. I want to have my truck in my yard. I don't want to have my truck in my soil, in the next corner, in the next lot. I want to keep my truck in my property, on the back of the property, on a right place that I don't bother nobody. I have a strike pipe F250 that sound more than my truck because there are people complaining about noises.
Thank you very much, sir.
So we have Carolyn Abbey, followed by Matthew Gitkin, followed by Dabin Abithopa. I tried.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Carolyn Abbey. I live in the acreage in Royal Palm. I have 1.25 acres. I've been there 20-plus years. We have a petition that we have signed going around, that 90 signatures so far, and that was only in 6 hours of our time with 2 people. And our area is 1.25 acres. The roads are not equipped for 18-wheelers. We are an equestrian area, not industrial area, and this will affect the roads as well as wear and tear on the wells and the streets, so forth. We do not think that tractor trailers should be allowed to park in 1.25 acre. And if they want to go, I think you should build a lot. This is a compromise that we had spoke about, a neutral lot where they can park all they want. We have saw ads in the paper that people are renting their yard to have them come up from wherever to leave their trucks there. It's not fair.
Thank you.
I live in a gorgeous house, and I don't.
Thank you, ma'am.
You know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Good
we have-
afternoon.
Hold on one second.
Oh,
Ben.
sorry.
So we have Matthew Gitkin, followed by Dabin Abitopa, followed by Suzanne Cecilia.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Gitkin, and I'm here speaking for the Board of Directors of the Jupiter Farms Residents Association. Residential roads are maintained by Sir Wicked, our water control district. Most of these roads are considered dirt or unsurfaced roads without paths or walkways. Some of these roads are only 14 feet wide in Jupiter Farms. They are not built to county standards, and they are unsuitable for regular use by heavy commercial and industrial vehicles. To be clear, Jupiter Farms residents are not saying that we want to put out small businesses when looking toward what may be proposed, but it would remain for zoning to determine what's appropriate. We would support small business owners who have a crew cab for a semi, but never 35-foot tractor trailers, fully laden, and certainly not multiples. But we have smaller businesses with heavier utility trucks and bucket trucks that weigh more than currently allowed. We have residential parcels that are AR on local residential streets, and indeed, even our Jupiter Farms Elementary School is located on a district
Thank you very
road
much,
with
sir.
no sidewalk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have our next speaker, please. Ma'am?
Susan Cecilia, Jupiter Farms. A lot of the things have been said. I'll try not to repeat because having only 1 minute. Again, we support the relief and removal of the current code that disallows trucks over 12,500 pounds. Trucks over 12,500 pounds should be allowed in our rural area. When you're talking about these trucks, they aren't continually going back and forth and back and forth. They're bringing them in and going out in the morning and bringing them in and bringing them back in at night. Most of these people are our neighbors, and they do our work for us. They are people who landscape, fix the plumbing, fix our electric, do all of these things with these trucks that they have. And if we need fill dirt, they're the people we call to bring dirt and bring fill. Also, we know some of the force that's been used on some of these people by code enforcement, and I think that needs to be investigated. Also, we did not
Thank you,
elect
ma'am.
anybody
Thank you.
to speak for
Thank
us
you.
as far as Jupiter
Thank you.
Farms residents.
Thank you.
We have Diosdado Gonzalez Marrero, followed by Katie Reinholz, followed by Lisa Roner.
Hello. I don't speak Spanish. I need a trailer. I can.
If it's okay with the board, I would just translate for him.
Thank you.
Mi nombre es Diosdado González.
His name is Diosdado.
Yo voy a decir algo que la Constitución de este país da unos cuantos derechos
The Constitution of this country gives us some certain rights.
y aquí se está tratando de votar por derechos que nos van a violar nuestros derechos.
And here we're trying to vote on something that's going to violate our rights.
Creo que debieran de tomar un poquito de conciencia al respecto. Hay a favor y en contra, pero los que estén en contra están en contra de mis derechos.
So there's people for this and against it. Those against, they're taking away my rights.
Y por tanto, los derechos no se votan ni a favor ni en contra, sencillamente son derechos. Muchas gracias.
And for that right, rights are not voted for or against. You just,
Son derechos.
they're just
no se votan
rights,
ni a favor
sorry.
ni en contra, son derechos. Muchas
Thank you.
gracias.
So I have Katie Reinholz, followed by Lisa Romer, followed by Carla Little Griffiths.
Hi, everybody. I'm a landowner in Jupiter Farms, and I support the relief of fines and the removal of the code regarding trucks. In our neighborhood, I believe that trucks should be allowed in the community. A lot of the roads are private, so I'm not sure that you guys have jurisdiction to worry about the road care since the owners have to deal with the roads. If it's a noise issue, there is a noise ordinance in place and it doesn't reach the decibels. And then also it's very selective, so we're ousting all these truckers, but I probably have 20 Amazon trucks come to my house, in every given couple days. I have been terrorized, and I need you guys to listen to me. This is the part where it gets serious. By Ramsey Buckley for 2.5 years. I'm an ag exempt farmer. He has ignored statutes. Guys, this needs looked into. It is very serious.
Thank you.
So we have Lisa Romer, followed by
Romero,
sorry.
that's okay. Good afternoon.
Go 1 second. Followed by Carla Little Griffiths, followed by Renee Hamilton.
Good afternoon. I live at 14785 Orange Boulevard. And you guys issued Mr. Stern a business license to run his business out of that home. He's been there. He built his dream home in 2002. He loves it. The reason he moved out there is because he ran his business out of there. Now, all of a sudden, we receive a citation, November of 2022. Numerous attempts. We've called the department to get in contact with the person who gave us the citation. Okay, we gave him the fact, it's the holidays, no problem. Okay, he just received a citation on his fence Monday. We get a text on our way here to this meeting. I'm off today, I'll call you tomorrow. Brian, we didn't even know who this text was from, and we run a business. We keep our truck on our property. I mean, something has to be done. You allowed it for 21 years, and now all of a sudden there's a problem? It needs to be addressed.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Carla Little Griffiths, the wife of a trucker, Mark Griffiths. I wrote this whole speech, but I'm just gonna speak from the heart. People are saying roads cannot take it. I want you guys to consider this. Amazon and many other delivery trucks, they're back and forth in our community. I live out in the acreage. They're back and forth all day. I've been ordering from Amazon every day this week. They've been at my house. Some say park the trucks in the parking lot, but who are gonna pay for computers when people are stealing parts like crazy at different sites to park? A computer is like $5,000. Hey, we're in business, this is small business, but we can't afford, as soon as we come up with the $5,000, replace it, then somebody steal it again. It's safer to have our trucks parked on our property. Please, as a resident, I just please wanna say that you guys please consider a reasonable amount of trucks that can be parked on a personal lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have Renee Hamilton, followed by Stian Oksavic, followed by Matt Reinholtz. And Matt, you have to tell us exactly how many Amazon that comes.
Let me look at my bank account.
Good afternoon, I'm Renee Hamilton, and first I would like to say, and I don't know how anybody else feels, but we're here, we've taken the day off. Many people who would have worked all day long driving their trucks, and I feel it's offensive to only give each person a minute to speak. I think when you know you have something on your agenda that is, I'm sorry, don't shake your head, Mayor, that's offensive also. When you have people come in and you know there's gonna be a large group like this, you should allocate adequate time, more than a minute for us to speak. With that, I'd also like to say that I want to point out to the group that I think that there's also a law here that you might need to look at, and it's the law from 2021 that the Governor DeSantis signed for small businesses. And I see that there's many other districts and areas that have revised that law to meet the standards needed, and I don't know that Palm Beach County has done such, and based on reading the law and my interpretation, it looks like you are not compliant with it. And that is Law 559955. So I would like you guys to take a look at that, and I'd like you to consider what everybody is saying here today and give us relief.
Matt Reinholz, I am a resident agricultural operator in Jupiter Farms. I speak for myself. I support the removal of code that was added in 2019 regarding trucks. I oppose the contradictory languages and impossible weight limits set. The hardest part of my life and my farm business right now is code enforcement. That is not okay. My exempt farm has been terrorized by Ramsey Buckley. For 2.5 years, they have sat on inapplicable paperwork. Public records quoted the tactic as kicking the can down the road. This tactic has done nothing but to try and interrogate me, bleed me financially, and to exhaust me, to finally give up my fight, and to succumb to Ramsey Buckley's illegal requests. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stian Oksavic. I live in Loxahatchee, and I just want to say this is not about truck traffic on our roads. We have truck traffic on our roads. We have deliveries to Publix. We have septic trucks coming up. We have those Amazon vans everyone's been mentioning. We have the developers building our new developments. What this is about is being able to keep your truck at home. This is about supporting small businesses. This is about supporting our neighbors. This is about supporting people who moved to Loxahatchee years and decades ago in order to be able to have that lifestyle. It's about being able to keep your truck at home when you're an owner-operator. It's about being able to keep boats, RVs, mud trucks, whatever it is. And If the roads can't handle the traffic that everybody moved out there for, perhaps we need to look at improving those roads. But at the end of the day, this is about our neighbors. This is about people who live there and who should not be treated less favorably than people coming in from outside. Thank you.
We have now Saleh, followed by Melissa Tellez, and followed by Claire Dougal.
Hello, everyone. It's Noor Saleh. I live in Loxahatchee. You know my address. Just a little recap on last time. I told everybody to be good neighbors. Everybody deserves a good neighbor, okay? That's something we need. It's a necessity. We all have jobs here today. Thank God for truck drivers, because this building would not be built without truck drivers. We need deliveries, right? Cinder blocks, cranes, the whole 9 yards, right? So we need to give credit to truck drivers. Complaining about sidewalks. Thank you, Mr. Cement Man, for pouring the concrete for my sidewalk so my kids can play there. Am I right? My mailman supposedly thinks he's like Tokyo Drift, ruined the road that was just milled because he went from one mailbox to the other and found his way in the swell. He damaged the road. Can you hold a cake from the side of your hand like a burger? Now you can't, because it's gonna crumble. Imagine all the weight on the side of the road. What's it gonna do? It's just gonna crumble because all the support is in the middle, the foundation, just like a structure.
Thank you very much, sir.
1 minute, once again. Is it enough?
So we have Melissa Tellez, followed by Claire Dougal, followed by Angelique Contreras.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Melissa Tellez. My dad's been a small business owner. He owns his own landscaping company since 2010. We moved out to Loxahatchee 7 years ago. He moved us out there in order to run his business a little bit more smoothly. And I just want, the commissioners to kind of take into consideration that this doesn't just affect like right now. This also affects like future generations to come as well. I'm currently trying to take ownership of my dad's business. So, it's just something that's not just in the moment. This is gonna keep on. This affects, future generations as well. So I just want you guys to take that into consideration. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon to the distinguished chair. My name is Claire Dougal, and I'm a business owner, and my business is trucking. I'm here to join with the many people, the farmers, the grocery, the nursery growers, and the farmers. Trucking play a very important role. We are the people who bring the food, water to Publix, to the store, to the hospital. My business helped to build the schools and the playground, everything housing in Loxahatchee. Now, if truckers are not allowed, how people are going to put furniture in their homes? These huge companies, they're not being struck down. We've lived there for 22 years, and for 28 years, our only source of living is trucking. Truckers do not play race when they go to drive. They're protective of their driver's license because it's their daily living. So we are here to say we're asking for new codes or to accommodate us to park our vehicle on our property. We tried parking on the public, our computer got stolen.
Thank you
That's a
very much, ma'am.
$5,000 repair.
Thank you.
And after Angelique Contreras will be Representative Rick Roth.
Hello, everyone. Angelique Contreras. I'm here to support the landscapers and truckers today. I think it's important to say this, that I grew up in a rural area in Fort Pierce out by the fairgrounds, and the Orange Grove truckers came in and out of our neighborhood all the time. And we were able to play and do our life as normal and live in our home. And what's heartbreaking to me is that these business owners that have been out there for many, many years are pleading with you to, one, research the individual that's been going after the community. I think that's really important, and your obligation to do that. I think it's important for you to think about the housing crisis that we're in right now, and that you're moving people out of their homes because of code enforcement and the rules that are implied on them. So I just ask you today to really think about all of these families that are here and think about how this punishes them, not just now, but in the future. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And, excuse me. And then as a, understand, first off, thank you very much, Representative Roth, for being with us and all you do for our community. And I would like to make sure you have, we'll offer you 3 minutes because I know you came down from Tallahassee specifically to speak to us.
Thank you, Mayor. I am honored by that opportunity. I did want to talk a few minutes, but I did want to spend a minute thanking the board for allowing us to meet like this, and Thank you, Mayor, for allowing everyone to have at least a minute. That's very kind of you. This is kind of impromptu. I appreciate you understanding that. I have to tell you how much I appreciate everybody being here today. This has been a long time coming, Mayor. We really appreciate the board going through an internal investigation by staff. We appreciate that very much. We appreciate very much that we're now talking about the possibility of making some changes, maybe for a year, to take some of the pressure off of truckers, to review the code for truckers. We would also appreciate the possibility of having some kind of pause for the nursery and landscape industry. We really need to review the changes that have been made in the last 5 years. I have to say it this way, sir, commissioners, either code enforcement, the people on the ground that are doing the actions, that are interacting with the people in their businesses, on their homes, either they don't understand how it is affecting them, or they don't care. And my concern is that you don't know. Staff doesn't know. You don't know the level of harassment that's been taking place. Secondly, you don't know that there are landscapers in this room, 2 of them I could give you by name that have already spoken today, that are in the process of being run off their property today. They have moved in trying to get into compliance, and they are now being followed by code enforcement and told their new lessor to get them off the property. Why is code enforcement going after the landscape industry? You could say maybe it was possibly because it's an incompatible use to have landscapers in ag residential. We should have a discussion about that. That is possibly a problem. But I do want you to understand that in 2016, there was 912 nursery and landscape operations in Palm Beach County, according to Florida Department of Agriculture. Today, there's 581. That's a 35% reduction. In 2019, Mayor and Commissioner Weinroth, Commissioner Bernard, all voted in a November 25th, 2019 commission hearing. Bradley Miller was the main person pushing for a DRO change, and y'all gave the landscapers an opportunity for a DRO change, DRO plus a variance. To my knowledge, of those 26 people, none of them have gotten legal. This is destroying the industry. To separate nursery from landscape and treat them completely different is going to destroy the industry. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm looking forward to working with you, looking forward to working with your staff. I think we can come up with a solution. Thank you so
very
much.
much, sir, and thank you for your service. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So now, thank you. Do you want to make comments now? We're waiting for the presentation from our staff.
I just have a question for Representative Roth.
Oh, please, go ahead.
Representative Roth, you mentioned the landscape issue, but I don't know if you touched on the trucking. Can you kind of like briefly give a summary of the trucking issue also from your side?
Yes, sir. There are many people in the room that have intimate knowledge, and I've gotten that knowledge from them. What they tell you is infinitely more important than what I know, because I'm getting it secondhand. But I'm being told by Natalia and other people that they've been told by code enforcement, oh, this is okay, oh, 2 vehicles okay, oh no, now 2 vehicles is not okay. And they've also been told point blank, we're gonna make sure there are no commercial vehicles in unincorporated Loxahatchee. They've been told that specifically by staff. So I think what's going on is an opportunity of code enforcement to move forward with what they are supposed to be doing, but it's the way that they're doing it by dragging out the process for the commercial truckers. Some of them have been trying to get legal for a couple of years, it's very, very stressful. They're in the room. They've been dealing with this for 3 years and they still haven't got satisfaction. So all I'm asking for the truckers and also for the landscapers is that we have to have a pathway for them to get legal, for them to get in compliance. And most of these people don't know when they're going to get in compliance.
Thank you very much.
Do you have anything? Yeah, okay.
Don't go away, Representative. You're not leaving so fast. Would you explain and put on the record what your occupation is?
I'm a farmer in Palm Beach County, 45 years. I grow some of the best sweet corn, radishes, lettuce, and celery, sugarcane, rice, and sod, and I own
We
a
know how
packing
sweet
house.
you are, so we'll skip that. What, will you be committed to sit at the table with other stakeholders in finding a resolution to these issues of the truckers and the nurserymen and the landscapers and the residents of this area?
Commissioner Sachs, that would be such an honor. I've had some very good conversation with your county administrator, Miss Virginia Baker, and I've told everybody that I've talked to, I've turned down opportunities to speak to the press. I want to work with everybody to find some solutions. We need real solutions, not solutions that sound good. We need people to be able to keep their jobs, and if we have to move our landscapers, we got to have a place for them to move.
And has the staff, as county staff, especially under administration of Ms. Baker, has everyone here been amenable to meeting with you and discussing these issues and these allegations?
Absolutely.
And I expect that will continue on it, Representative. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, so now going back to our agenda, does the county attorney have any comments?
No comments.
Okay, let's see, who's next?
Mr. Mayor, just we did receive about 18 comment cards that do not wish to speak, so we'll receive and file them.
Thank you, sir, very much. So county attorney has no comments. Does the planning director have any comments? Oh, he's gone, so zoning director? Okay. And who's, no, I think now we're down to the assistant county administrator. The floor is yours, sir.
So, and we're prepared do a quick overview of code enforcement and then talk a little bit on the follow-up from the direction we received from you in January, and I'll ask Michelle to run through that quickly.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and County Administrator. We thank you for this opportunity to present to you a code enforcement overview. We understand, for brevity's sake, we have approximately 30 minutes to go over through this and discuss with you, but as always, we welcome the opportunity if you need to after to go into detail on anything that we may not cover. To my right is Richard Torrance. He's our code enforcement manager. Approximately 2 years ago, the code enforcement division was restructured from a director and senior code enforcement officers to include the position of an code enforcement manager. Richard Torrance has approximately 30+ years of code enforcement experience within Palm Beach County. Our mission overview is simple: to uniformly and consistently enforce the Palm Beach County Code of Ordinances and Land Development Regulations, to promote and protect the health, safety, welfare, and quality of life for the residents, businesses, and tourists of Palm Beach County. We do this with the vision in mind to maintain our neighborhoods and communities' quality of life. Our Code Enforcement Division comprises of 30 code enforcement officers, of which we are broken down into 5 teams. These teams cover 5 specific areas. Each team then has a senior code enforcement officer. That code enforcement officer is overseen by Richard Torrance, the code enforcement manager, and myself, the code director. In addition to this, we have support staff. Our support staff includes our 6 administrative technicians, our personnel. They're our checks and balance system. We also include a research technician, Nancy King, with over 40 years of experience within Palm Beach County. We also have a sixth position of a senior code enforcement officer, and that person specifically is to deal with specific requests, special assignments, and now what we're doing on is envisioning and implementing a more structured training program within the Code Enforcement Division and community outreach. Our Code Enforcement Division is a culturally diverse mirror reflection of the community that we serve. Palm Beach County, land-wise, is the second largest county in the state of Florida. It is the largest if we include Lake Okeechobee. If you look at the map that's on this display right there, that is Palm Beach County, and that is what we cover. The shaded areas, which are a little darker than the colors you'll notice, those are the municipalities. And if you notice that, we cover unincorporated only, and unincorporated is vastly larger than the municipalities themselves. These areas were divided by density and population, so that's how we decide. We constantly are evaluating and reviewing the different areas to determine whether or not we need to add additional personnel or even restructure the areas that we cover. Our code enforcement officers are highly trained individuals. We've implemented a new training program, of which there's 6 to 8 weeks. Whether the person that the new hire is experienced in code enforcement or not, they all go through the same process of learning. We all also go through a FACE certification program and advanced training. I'll go into FACE in the next slide. We do interdivisional training with our partners in planning, zoning, and building. Interdepartmental training with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, Solid Waste Authority. Those are some of our partners. In addition, we do Palm Beach County training and development through our TED systems individually. Our in-house training is ongoing. We look at the emerging trends and also the updates to our ordinances and our current laws that we need to adhere to. The FACE training program is the Florida Association of Code Enforcement Officers. 59 out of the 67 counties are represented with certifications in this statewide agency. I'm not going to go over through every single one, but levels 1, 2, and 4 are required to be taken through the first 11 months to be completed and successfully passed, and each code enforcement officer must receive their certification. The level 3, which is legal issues and code enforcement, that one is required by all senior code enforcement personnel, and as of now, we are hoping to have all of our code enforcement officers certified within 2 years of employment. Each level has specific topics that they cover, but in each level, the key component is ethics and customer service, verbal and written communication skills, conflict and de-escalation training, courtesy and respect, human diversity, dealing with persons of special concerns, emerging trends, and the legal aspects throughout the code enforcement process. Each level is a 40-hour process, a 40-hour week that they have to go through, and each score must be of 75% or higher. Once they obtain their certification levels, that just does not stop. On a rotating 2-year period, they need to recertify with at least 16 credits. They must maintain their certification. In addition to the FACE certification, where do we go from there? In 2021, there was no longer could file a complaint anonymously. That's part of our ongoing training. We had to then not only train our officers, our on-call personnel, but we also had to train the public as well. We had to educate the public as to the new laws that were in place. That being said, code enforcement officers are governed and followed the Florida State Statutes, Chapter 162. We go by our policies and procedures, our PPMs. In addition, upon receipt of any kind of case, we validate the complaint. It is the #1 thing we do before we even go out. In addition, we follow up and we go roundabout to follow with our procedures outlined in our policies and procedures and Florida State statute. And then if the complaint is a valid complaint, we then issue a notice of violation and then go through the whole process again of our checks and balance system. It's a constant state of review. We do agenda reviews. We review the case prior to anything going before a code enforcement hearing to afford the respondent the due process, the proper service, and a reasonable amount of time. Ensure that they have the benefit of the doubt of anything. We have active participants constantly within this entire process. The Assistant County Attorney, the Code Enforcement Director, myself, the Code Manager, the Senior Code Enforcement Officer, and of course the Code Enforcement Officers themselves. We include witnesses and supporting personnel to any of the violations to make sure that the correct violation has been identified. Members from other departments, such as Road and Bridges, Fire Rescue, Building and Zoning, will all come in to discuss the case. And then we go through our quarterly case reviews. Again, we are in a constant state of checks and balances and reviews, full of transparency and accuracy. We do team reviews, and then the area supervisors and code enforcement officers themselves are individually reviewed. We determine whether or not it's time to change. We switch zones, we switch areas. We're always evaluating our processes and procedures to benefit the customer and our divisions for efficiencies. A perfect example is in 2021, we reevaluated the process of our response times. In 2021, we reduced our response time from 10 days to 3 days. Our current division average at the end of 2022 and 2023 is less than 2 days. Our life safety violations require a 24-hour response. We are currently at a same-day response or coordination. If you look at the bar graphs, if you notice, the colors represent the team areas 1 through 5. In 2018, we had an average of a 16-day response time for a complaint received. In 2023, I'm proud to say that we have a 1-day average response.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, County Commissioners, Richard Torrance, Code Enforcement Manager. What do? We investigate and enforce civil and non-criminal code violations in unincorporated Palm Beach County. This can be broken down into 6 major categories. The Florida Building Code, business tax receipts, housing property maintenance code, substandard housing, and the Unified Land Development Code, as well as the Fire Prevention Code. Palm Beach County codes of ordinances, which would include ordinances and solid waste authority. Examples would be use violation, parking enforcement, property maintenance, foreclosure registry, illegal water use, curb stoning, special permits and events, marine violations. We were instrumental in the COVID task force, as well as business tax receipt inspections and occupancy uses. We work with people to achieve voluntary compliance. Code enforcement is just more than cutting grass. Common types of investigations: use violations, commercial use in residential properties, commercial restricted uses and hours of operation. Restaurants turning into nightclubs after 11 p.m. is a big one. Setbacks, sheds in the setbacks, fences in the setbacks, unpermitted structures in the setbacks. Farm animals in the urban tier. We get a lot of complaints about that. Unpermitted construction hours, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. you can't do construction, and you can't do construction on Sundays. Those are complaints we receive. Noise violations. We assist human trafficking. We inspect adult entertainment industries to make sure that they have the proper placards in the places of business, that the people that work there know that they can only be there under their own free will. We remove illegal signs, as you see in this picture. Commercial vehicle enforcement and properly parked boats, trailers, and recreational vehicles. Common code violations, site plan violations. We check shopping centers for missing landscaping, make sure they have up-to-date handicap parking spaces, expired building permits, unpermitted structures. Fire codes, we enforce fire code. When fire inspector has trouble with voluntary compliance, we get involved to make sure the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Code is enforced and those items are corrected. Pool water maintenance and safety barriers. These are considered life safety issues. Pools are required to have barriers at all times. Inoperative, unlicensed, derelict vehicles, dead trees, landscape requirements, trash and debris, occupancy use, multifamily in a single family area. Who do we work with? We work with the county administrator's office, the county attorney, the other planning, zoning, and building divisions. We work with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. We work with Fire Rescue, Public Works, Animal Control, Community Services, Department of Health, Solid Waste Authority, ITID, Lake Worth Drainage District, South Indian River Water Control District, the Inspector General, Housing Economic Sustainability, OCR, OFMB, the Tax Collector, ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Sorry for the acronyms, but I'm sure you all know what those are.
As we said, we're more than just grass. If you look at these images now, we're going to go through a series of photographs, one of which I need to say is that part of our code enforcement process of investigation is that we document the violations. Not only do we have to see the violation by ourselves with our own eyes, but we document it by photography. So a photograph sometimes does speak 1,000 words, but sometimes perspective, we need to articulate and explain to you what we're looking at. Right here on the right-hand side is a home that was abandoned by its property owner. This is in a gated community, and complaints had been received by the Property Homeowners Association, and then, of course, sent to us, code enforcement. To the left-hand side is a pool that was also neglected. Pool clarity, these are types of investigations that we do. Neglected green pools pose health risks as they are breeding ground for mosquitoes and other disease-causing germs, but also an attractive nuisance to individuals in the area. To the left-hand side is a structure that was created, and it is a substandard housing structure. An individual was living in that structure right there. This is a type of call that we receive by code enforcement. If you look into the background of it, there is a home of which the property owner was living and, again, renting that substandard structure in the back. The home on the right-hand side is actually an apartment complex. The property fence is in disrepair. Clothing line was corroded with the sharp edges. The boat bimini top was abandoned on the back, is also broken with poles sticking out, which were creating hazards for the children that played in that area. Easily can be impaled by it. These are dangers. The neglected fence had unboarded nails sticking out as well. Next picture. Here we go. We don't only go into the rural areas, but we also have parking issues in the urban areas. And as if you look, our urban areas, to the right-hand side is a motorhome RV recreational vehicle parked. It's approximately a 38-foot recreational vehicle. And what's unique about this one is two things. It's a danger and a hazard because it's lifted on homemade lifts out of 2x4s. They're being used as lifts and levelers for the RV that is open and being occupied. Also,
Excuse
it's
me.
blocking the sidewalk.
Sorry. Commissioner Baxter has a question.
It's actually for you, Mayor. You said that you have a hard stop at 3. Are you leaving and we're continuing, or the meeting is done at 3?
We'll find out.
Well, I wanted to know because this is going to take up any time we have to actually discuss this as a board, and I don't want to get to 3 o'clock and say we'll continue this another day.
I think it's, we asked for this report to come back from code, though.
I don't mind hearing the code another day, but I think there's important things that we have a room full of people that have been waiting to hear us discuss.
Excuse me. All right, why don't we do this? Because there were allegations that are made, and so I think it's important we hear. Do you want to, can we move to those allegations, and then we can move to discussion if you'd like.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'll start quickly, and County Administrator I know has some words as well. Just want to touch on a point. Michelle began on it. Code enforcement's a difficult job. I think you all know that they enforce a variety of things, not just the Unified Land Development Code, the Florida Building Code, ordinances that this board adopts, be it our projection ordinance, which we recently adopted, our rental increase ordinance, or a number of things. They have enforcement pieces to it. The board adopts these and sets these enforcement pieces to it because they set boundaries. And your actions, your ordinances have meaning. If we didn't enforce them, they would have no meaning. That's why you have them in place. So as we work through them, we investigate a complaint, and I think Michelle used the term, validate a complaint. If something comes in, you look to validate it. It would be arbitrary on our part not to seek to validate or invalidate all of them. Education is that most important part, going out, doing that enforcement, that first piece of it helps inform the code officer, also works with the property owner. So as we dial into the specifics on it, each of these, as we looked through the cases, and I'm not going to go through each one, but we picked up a pretty good flavor of how things work, and there's a lot more to every story that you're hearing. And each one of these cases is unique. I want to touch on one other piece. When we talk about fines, heard a lot of inaccurate information. A fine only occurs after something has gone to a magistrate when it reaches that point. Officers are not instilling fines. The magistrate sets the fines.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this one more time. I'm giving you all one final warning. The next person who speaks out is I'm talking to the sheriff's deputies right now. Please remove that individual. You've all been warned.
So, hear that point, again, trying to clear up some of the inaccuracies that we hear out there. Just a couple points. And what officers, when they get out in the field, we've got one of our truck issues out there where the respondent said, I was told at an ITID meeting that I'm allowed to have a truck. That's their position, no matter how much explanation. There have been multiple meetings with this specific individual. They're not moving off that point. So trying to work from behind and work once they've assessed a situation and they've reached a position themselves, and no matter, again, how much information we can share and show, it becomes difficult to work through that. I think one of the speakers touched on it earlier. Real estate postings and ads. There are in the advertisements for properties listed and active right now. Come park as many trucks, commercial vehicles, all the things you want, big lots, come do it. So we work from behind when people have received that information. I heard from my neighbor that I could do this. So you're already starting from a perspective that you're working from behind, working your way through. Really quickly, just going through some of these points. Don't want to linger on them. Modified ag can be exempt from zoning. That's on the books. We're very well aware of that. Process that. We have full respect for state law with regard to that. Nurseries receive administrative approval. Just a couple of these points that were made. Landscape services, not to linger on that. Members of the board who were here for this will remember we spent 4 or 5 years on this topic. Revisions were made greatly enhancing landscape abilities on properties. 29 sites, 29 have been approved since this board adopted the new regulations. 4 were denied based on access requirements that the board set. There was an additional process potentially allowing more to occur, but you've had 29 that have been approved. My next one, don't need to go through everything. We had 23 public meetings on landscape services, as well as 8 other industry meetings. Going to our map, so talking about the acreage area, specifically code enforcement officers and activity in the area, there are 2 areas that represent the acreage that are part of zones code enforcement is set up. So the county code enforcement is divided into 5 areas of unincorporated Palm Beach County, 6 officers per zone, 1 senior per zone. Excuse me. They rotate through those teams every 2 years or so-ish. Some of it depended on staffing, things like that. But the periodic rotation does go on. Over the 6 years that we looked at cases, there have been 19 different officers in the acreage area in those 2 zones. So you're not seeing the same people. 19 different ones have been working in that area. So then getting into the specific math on cases, go back one, keep going, there we go. Polling the cases for 6 years. So on the left, the number of cases investigated in these areas. Average was 751. So we're going back to 2017, and we've got the partial year 2023, but let's just focus on 17 through 22. We averaged 751 cases per year investigated in these zones. On pace, we're pretty much at the end of the first quarter of 23. If you annualize that number, we're on pace for about 400. So you can see the number of cases in the acreage has gone down every year since 2020 and is going down rather precipitously in 2023, or at least we're on pace for that point. Then diving in a little deeper on the overall cases, we do, in this 6-year period, there were almost 68,000 total cases investigated by code enforcement, countywide. Of that, 4,500, almost 4,600, were verified in the acreage. Of this, again, the same area we're talking about. Of that 4,600, only 2,500 turned into violations. Voluntary compliance was achieved, other things of that sort. But we're talking about 6.7% of the total cases in this time frame occurred in the acreage area. A little bit tighter now on commercial vehicles. Over this 6-year period in unincorporated Palm Beach County, there were 714 violations issued for commercial vehicles, 714 countywide. Of the total, which is less than 1% of the almost 67,500 total complaints investigated during that period of time. So the commercial vehicle parking is a very, very, very small percentage of the ones that are out there. Of that 714, 200 of those were within the acreage studied area. Of that 200, we're talking about 186 properties, and there are 17,000 parcels in the acreage area. Of that 200 cases, that represented 186 properties. 120 of those cases closed for voluntary compliance, so well over half closed right out of the gate. 61 of these cases are actively working on compliance now, have been given additional time. 19 of these 200 are running daily fines, so they've been to a magistrate. That's 10% of them. Moving on, we've got some mapping here of cases reviewed on commercial vehicle violations, and you'll see absolutely in 2022, we hit a peak number there. You can see going year through year, 19, 16, 5, 22, from 2017 to 2021, it did reach a much higher number. 2022, absolutely. Look at 2023, though, again, we annualize where we are so far. They're on pace for approximately 20. So moving us into where we landed as we looked at all these, as we considered all the information that's out there, and then we took it in broadly. We looked at them, analyzed, understood all the different points, and that there are different pieces, and if you really dig into any case and you read the case notes and you read the interaction, you read the number of times a code officer interacts with a respondent, who they interact with on the county side, staff side, who a respondent may call and have a friend may call or help out, things like that. Looked at them. There are no findings of selective enforcement. There are no findings of abuse of power. We'll be the first to tell you, any interaction, sometimes our code officers will be firm. Every interaction goes differently, but there's no abuse, there is no targeting, there is no harassment. All the cases, the investigations were in line, and Michelle began to talk about the training that we've done. All the work has been done consistent with those policies and procedures. We tell you that most of our cases are complaint driven, about 80% or so. And we had, close to 8,000 received in 2022. About half of that turns into notice of violations. Michelle touched on the no anonymous complaints anymore. One other point to make, a couple other points to make via case law. You'll hear a lot, and a lot of folks have brought up, you might be identifying, or a complaint came in on one specific item, and as you review a property, there might be other things, be it structures in place without building permit, things like that. There's an efficiency factor to that. You do a complete review one time, so you're not returning to a property multiple times. Also, there's case law that supports the concept, if you've been to a property and you didn't identify something, that's your time to see it. You don't come back a month or two later and say, ooh, let me take another look at that. You have to do your complete review. We don't use private investigators. We have no drones. You've heard that one before too. There are no drones. No other way around it. We use the term reasonable time for compliance. It is beyond a reasonable term. There is always an availability for more time for someone who is working towards compliance. There's a long period before it might get to a magistrate, and after that, there's more time afterwards. So that is, they're all unique based on the circumstances. Obviously, some can be addressed quicker than others. That is taken into consideration. Plenty of time is available, though, to make that happen. And I'll go through the last part very quickly, talking about changes. Michelle was touching on them, training, things of that sort. Our officers are there. We are always open to new ideas, always open to training, enhancing, using best practices. And with that, I will hand it over to the county administrator for
Excuse me, Commissioner Baxter has a question, and then Commissioner Woodward.
I would just like your permission, Mayor, that we can continue without you after 3 if you have to leave.
I'm more than welcome to continue. I'd be happy to leave you all, but I'm gonna take it all the way to 3:10 because I think I can make it up to Riviera Beach in 20 minutes. So I really want to, I think it's important. I'd like to be a part of this. And I know Commissioner Marino has indicated she'd also like to be a part of this discussion. All right, Commissioner Woodward.
Yes, I just wanted to have a quick question. You mentioned about case law, having code enforcement has to cite everything on their first visit to not come back, which I understand. We don't want code enforcement to have to continue to go back to someone's residence over and over again, or business. However, is this maybe has some unintended consequences of having code enforcement have to look for every possibility of a citation, and because it's their one and only shot? Otherwise, they would be coming, it's like you didn't see it, so you can't cite it. Is this something that's maybe encouraged? And this is a state statute, if I'm correct, that we're encouraging them that you have to find absolutely everything because you get one shot. Is that true?
Good afternoon, Commissioner. It's case law, not necessarily a state statute, that governs the equitable defenses available to a respondent in the event that the county goes out there, has actual knowledge of a violation, and either acts in one way or doesn't act at all. A respondent could have an equitable defense against a code enforcement violation, meaning that the county has sort of lost its right to enforce that violation down the line. So that's part of the reason why when code enforcement officers go out to a property, they do a comprehensive review, make sure that they don't have to return to the property, and also make sure that the county doesn't lose its right to enforce the code.
And that case law comes from within Palm Beach County, or did that come from somewhere else? I was looking, Miami-Dade?
There are, it comes from, there's a Fourth Circuit case, I believe.
Was that the
It comes from
Lee
the
County,
District Court of Appeals, which is the mid-level appellate court here in Florida. This is how we interpret. In this case, it would be an equitable defense, so it wouldn't be something that you would see in a statute. The case law that we have comes from the second, third DCAs, which isn't Palm Beach County, but it would be case law that would support a defense unless the fourth district took an opposite position and you had some sort of conflict within the District Court of Appeals, which doesn't currently exist.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxter.
So are you saying that the county had no idea that semi-trucks were out there for the past 20-plus years?
No, I don't think we're saying that. I don't know. We didn't go back beyond 17. We could see that there have been citations. We look in that 6-year period. I'm sure if we look back, I don't know what the numbers would look like. If we look back to a 10-year window, maybe a 15-year window, I don't know what levels we'd find, but I would be very surprised if there weren't citations for similar thing in years preceding the window we looked at.
I mean, the argument's been made. We have this code. It dates back to, I believe it was 73 when I started digging in or thereabouts, since the beginning of the code. And so you're saying just because of that case law, that if somebody had seen it with the county and not reported it and now makes it allowed?
I can speak to kind of how the case law operates. The case law typically describes actual knowledge by the county, which means that there has to be some sort of evidence that the county had been out there while the violation was also existing.
And so that is what you're using to look at violations as you go to research what you're going to, I guess, investigate due to a complaint? Like if you're looking at both sides of the road on your way to a complaint, you're saying they have to report the violations they see because of this?
Well, it's not that the county necessarily has to report those violations. It's one piece is a policy decision that the county doesn't want to potentially, and Rick or Michelle can speak more in detail to this, doesn't necessarily want to receive multiple complaints for a single property because they had been out there once, only cited for one violation, and then had to return again because the complainant wanted to add more violations to that property.
Yeah, so typically a lot of our complaints have to do with neighbor disputes. It's a tit for tat, two neighbors are fighting. So if we don't cite all the code violations, we're just out there the following week because now they want to report the fence. Now they want to report the shed. Now they want to report whatever. So we just cite them, let them work out their differences with that. And the other part of the question is if we get a complaint about a semi at the end of the street, we can't pass 3 semis getting to that one and just cite the 1 semi, because then they're going to call us and tell us that we passed 3 semis and that we're targeting them. So those are things we have to deal with.
I'm going to reserve the rest of my comments for when we finish presentation.
Okay, thank you. Administrator Baker, please go ahead.
I think Patrick wrapped it up really short. It's unfortunate we couldn't walk you through the processes, because I believe part of this actually meeting with some of the residents, also going back to code enforcement, and meeting with all of my code enforcement officers, along with those that I specifically had cases or individuals I spoke to, and they gave me the names. I went back to hear both sides of what happened. And of course, as you can imagine, the stories are a little different. So, part of it is that the timeline in which we can bring people into compliance. And the main issue is, what I find is that not everyone knows all the details of the code. Are there areas we can do improvement in the code? Absolutely. And you'll hear that and would have heard that at the end. But there is also education on both sides. We have worked diligently over the years, and most recently with training. We will continue to train. We have moved forward with a different level of certification that is now required of our officers, as our director has stated. In addition to that, I'm going to ask for more training and de-escalation, because none of us like someone to come to our property and tell us what we can and cannot do on our property. We're paying taxes. However, we have rules and regulations, and so we have to enforce those. Code enforcement is the officers have a difficult job, because theirs is to enforce the code. And if there are elements in the code that people want changed, we have to address that. Not aim the gun at shouldn't have said that. Not aim solely at code enforcement officers, because they're doing their job. My conversation with my staff, code enforcement officers, was that I expect you to do your job. But if you're going over and above, that's not acceptable. We are not targeting folks. They have a right to do what the law allows them to do. And if they're doing more than that, we need to address that issue. So a couple of things that came out of my investigation. One was to continue with the training, as I stated, but I'm also looking at body cams for my officers. I think that it helps the residents. It also helps the officer. And if there are things that happen, we can look at, review the film, and if we need more training done or take more actions, then that's what we will do, and I'll have the evidence there to review and go through it. We're also looking at the potential of recorded lines, because what I also heard is that sometimes officers are not courteous, they come off a different way. But I've also heard from my officers how they're also addressed. So I'm looking at the potential of recorded lines, so when people call in to complain, we've got their recording. When officers call those individuals back, that's also recorded. So when there are allegations, we can go back and we've got substance that we can look at and make the appropriate determination. So that is what we've come out. I did not have anything that I could specifically nail down as far as total violations. That's different people with what they feel and how they feel, which we cannot control, the way that something was presented to them. But I think with these measures being put in place, and I'll definitely have to come back to the board for approval, because I will need additional funding to implement it, this will help all of us. In addition, I'm going to also ask staff to present like a pamphlet or whatever to leave with residents so that they clearly understand the process. One of the things that I heard was your officers came out and they told me to do these things, but it was nothing in writing. Well, if we're gonna share or give them suggestions, and I'm cautious on us giving suggestions because it's just that person's opinion, it needs to be on the code. So we will then put out something in writing and educate the public that if it's not in writing, if we didn't give it to you in writing, then you shouldn't be taking any further actions. But then I also heard from residents that want code enforcement officers to help them get through the process. So it's just a matter of us figuring out where we're going, definitely putting better communications between the code, the residents, as well as our code officers, and when they're writing up violations or warnings. So we're looking at all of that. I think we can then move on. If the board gives us direction to do something different, we will do that and make the appropriate changes and bring back for the board's approval. If not, we have to enforce what's in the code today. And I think we had a section in here to specifically address today the difference between 2019, before the 2019 code went into effect, and what was there before. I've been around for a minute, and I can tell you that I was not aware that there was specific provisions that allowed tractor trailers in the acreage area. So we need to, one way or the other, the current code does not allow for it based on the weight, et cetera. And so that's the code that the officer has to enforce.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Baxter and then Commissioner Barnett.
Okay, so,
And Commissioner Marino also.
Okay, and then Commissioner Marino.
so a couple things. I hear everyone when they talk about roads and they talk about living in a rural area, wanting to keep it that way. I think that's why we all moved out to a non-HOA area. But I have to say that there's certain things that are priorities. I think our small businesses, I think our truckers that deliver us food, that deliver us supplies, that make our economy even possible to function, have to be a priority. There was a map provided to all my fellow commissioners today that actually maps out areas that would specifically allow for a semi-truck to park. And it's very limited in Palm Beach County. And as you've heard from constituents here, they have problems with theft in truck yards. It's a big problem. And so just with keeping that in mind, we need to help support small businesses. We need to help support our truckers. We need to help support them. There needs to be a pathway forward. Otherwise, what are we doing? I mean, you can throw every excuse out there, but if you can't get food to people, that's a problem. You can't get supplies. And as we slowly, when we look at this, with the support of my fellow commissioners, I would absolutely love to give information and direction. So the information that we had found, if you're unaware, is that our current description of commercial vehicles, it actually contradicts itself, if you've never read it. I don't know if Lisa has it with her today or not, but she had pulled it for me and we had put it up. One moment it says exceeds limits, and then in the next, right after that, it says not to exceed limits, all within the same definition. So currently, our own code isn't correct and contradicts itself. So the people who want to say due diligence before you move in, it's not very clear. And that was updated in, I believe that one was 2008. And there was another section that was, yes, crossed out in 2019, but had you moved out to our area prior to that, and any normal common person would say, guess what, this actually, I'm allowed to be here, commercial vehicle, so on and so forth. What it used to say, they did a copy and paste of our code, and that's why it now contradicts itself. I guess they're gonna try to find it. Regardless of finding it, it literally does contradict itself. If they can pull it up, that would be amazing. But I think people do try to be good stewards, and we need to create a path forward and recognize how important these people are to us, how important residents and truckers, all of them, are to us. So if, first I would like the direction would be to help make our code in the form of consolidating the residential, personal, non-business vehicle, all of those, return exemption from the cap, screening requirements, so on and so forth. But in essence, I would like it to be able to where residents can pull it up and easily find out what's allowed, what's not allowed, and be very clear. Let's clean it up a little so that I think most of our residents want to actually be in compliance, and this just creates a pathway, help that pathway take place. Secondly, as far as parking goes, I would love to see a way where when we set out a Google survey and had up to 300 responses from residents of what they would like to see, not see in certain areas. And we've also received 329 emails. My staff went through and broke down in pros, cons, what they liked, what they didn't like. And I have to tell you, there was 78% of the residents wanted to see some form of change and to allow, I would say the majority said 2 is good. 2 semi-trucks was good with them. And they wouldn't want any more. Looking at then maybe classifying a lighter than a semi-truck into something different. I will leave that up to staff.
Commissioner Baxter,
if possible.
If you don't mind, since I'm going to have to leave, I'd like to, if I could, and also Commissioner Woodward, I normally try and go last and make my comments in deference to the rest of you and not abuse my position here, but if you would be so kind.
Please.
Okay. So, I mean, anytime any allegations are made about people being untreated unfairly by their government, I take that very, very seriously, and I think we all do. I think that's something we're all very considerate of. At this point, I haven't seen any evidence presented at this point. If there is such evidence, I would encourage anybody who has it to please, if you're not comfortable going to county administration, you can go to your county commissioner, but please make sure you bring that evidence forward so that changes can be made. As it relates, and specifically to the truck parking, here's the concerns I have about, and specifically semi-truck parking. There's 17,300 parcels out in the acreage. If we were to say that we were going to allow 1 semi-truck per parcel, that would mean that we are saying by county policy that we're okay with 17,300 semi-trucks being parked out in the acreage. I'm not certain that that's a good thing for an area, but that's a concern of mine. But if in fact the commission and the board were to decide to move forward with changes, then you get into there's going to be a whole list of things that would have to be discussed because it's a very complicated matter. I mean, if it's as simple of just the semi-truck itself, that makes it much easier. But if you then begin to allow tractor trailers, and you allow the trailers, then which trailers and what materials and what about, the ones that are running, the refrigerated units. And then questions arise of how close to your neighbor's house can it be? Does it need to be screened? And if it's going to be screened, where is it going to be screened and from who? Do these trucks need to be parked on pavement? Do they need to be parked on something else? So I am very concerned about making such a widespread change that would have such large consequences to an area. But also understanding when we're talking about, it's not just the acreage. We're talking about all the ag residential in Palm Beach County, which is a lot of very different areas. And I think in order, and that's a little bit of what, and like I said, I appreciate you folks being here today, but the fact that this wasn't an item in front of us that the rest of the public could be invited to, I think it's a disservice to them that they weren't invited to come and speak. And I do, again, I appreciate you all being here, and I believe it was as a courtesy to you, but it also now has limited the time that I can spend on this, what I think is a very important discussion. So I'm asking that you all, I'm going to have to leave. You can continue discussion. I know Commissioner Marino has comments to make as well. The Vice Mayor will continue to lead the meeting, I know, in a very good way. But maybe to postpone this so we can all be together and all have a decent discussion about this is a reasonable amount of time. And that we don't, unfortunately, I think the public has been misled as to what was going to be in front of us today and what we were trying to accomplish. So thank you. And with that, I'm going to have to excuse myself. You're in charge, ma'am.
Sounds like I'm in charge. Okay, going to move right along. I think we have Commissioner Woodward, you had your light on. Go right ahead.
Vice Mayor, I hadn't finished. I just wanted to let him speak before he left.
Okay, go right
but
ahead, and why don't you
I wanted
finish
to give
up?
the same courtesy to Commissioner
Sure.
Bernard, because he has to get his children as well. So
So now, wait a
if you
minute, wait a minute.
actually,
You're
let's
gonna-
time out. Can I just finish what I'm saying, and then we can just all
Wait,
adjourn?
are you looking at me?
Oh, yes, I am.
Good, okay. You'd like to finish what you're going to say.
Yes.
Commissioner Bernard, do you have a time restraint today?
Yes. I do have a time restraint, but I'm
Okay.
trying my best to figure out a way for us to, well, can I speak or no?
Oh, absolutely. So I have 3 speakers that are set, one with a time constraint, and out of courtesy for you as a parent, why don't you go ahead, Commissioner Bernard, and say your piece, and I'm going
I
to
just
get back with you.
Let's her continue.
Oh,
and
would you
it's-
rather?
Please.
Okay, well, go right ahead, Commissioner.
So I am assuming you got the first part of it, but I did want to let the mayor speak. And I do plan to have more talk, so I never wanted him to think that. I do think for the public to know, we have less than 200 semi-trucks, and the cost of semi-trucks starting around $250,000 apiece, I think limits us from worrying about 17,000 homes being flooded with them. I mean, and 250 is like a used, old truck. We're not talking brand new by any means. So that is where I think that is, but also keeping that in mind, if we could also, the sound part of it, we went over, if we could take a look at that. Timing at night, having a simple process through zoning permitting and a way to get them legal. That was another thing that was discussed. I think that would also address a concern of our mayor, because it was a simple process through zoning, and then they give it a paper that shows, hey, look, we're allowed to be here, and it gives them something to hold on to if they do have code or anything in the future. And I think they were all agreeable to that, and it was all part of, questions that we had sent out, keeping in mind we are a residential area that has home-based businesses, and to just introduce any other, I guess there were industrial options. I did have a concern lastly that I wanted to add on, especially regarding, it was discussed previously that landscape was allowed by a 30% accessory use at some point, and then something had changed. And then I heard a disturbing number the other day, and it was repeated again by Representative Roth, that we have lost over 400 nursery and landscape companies. I feel this is very disturbing, especially for the people that love their HOA neighborhoods and not paying too much in HOA fees, because I've been hearing recently they've doubled and tripled. I would imagine having a lack of services probably has attributed to that cost of options out there, because we all know the more options, lower cost. But regardless, I wanted to look if there's potentially a pathway to help the people who were there prior to the change, who had already started the application process. If we can have a special instance, I'm not sure if that's possible, to help those specific people with a path forward.
You
That was
completed
it.
your statement?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, very
Okay.
good, thank you. Commissioner Woodward?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. During my agenda review, I had some questions with staff that I wanted to bring up, some discussions.
Go right ahead.
As far as the trucker issue, I asked about owner-operators because I know there was concern about having these homes turned into rental lots for like multiple semi-trucks. And I was asking if there's a way that maybe we could give staff direction to put forward some sort of a permitting process, not something for people to pay, but something to prove, like proof of residency and proof of ownership of their vehicle, so that they can actually park their truck on their property. And if there's a way to, work towards accommodating that and not having them park on the road. Maybe we could work towards specific rules, I guess, on how we can accommodate owner-operators who live in these areas and want to be able to park their truck on their own property. Maybe even like a sticker that goes in their windshield, so even if code enforcement gets called out, they can see that this owner-operator has gone through the process to prove they own their truck, this is their property, so that way we're not risking, having like rental lots put out here, because I know that is a concern for the neighbors. And then also, addressing the noise ordinance, having maybe hours of operation so that they're not being super late at night. I don't know, there's different ways that we can try to accommodate this. And as I see, we only had 714 vehicle cases. So if we're working specifically with owner operators, trying to at least begin this process so that they can park there. I mean, this is a business for them. I actually grew up in a neighborhood where we had a neighbor with his semi-truck, and he had his own private little driveway, backed it up behind the trees. That was the only time we saw it, because it was back behind the trees. So if we could work towards something like that in our code as a start, to try to accommodate this. I don't know, I'd like to hear what my fellow commissioners would have to say.
Thank you. Hold on, just, Ms. Commissioner Baxter, just 1 minute. All right, it's okay. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Since I do have to leave, I just think that this is not an issue that's going to be solved today. This is a very complicated issue in regards to the truck issue and also with the landscaping. The landscaping, it took us over 5 years to eventually come up with a decision, but I am open to some suggestions by Commissioner Woodward and also Commissioner Baxter. And I look forward to having a further conversation regarding this issue to see what can staff bring to us that we can kind of like do in a public, maybe a workshop, so in that way we can flush it out and to know the ramifications of our decisions. But I'm open to some of these suggestions.
Very good. Now, Commissioner Baxter, I'm going to let you complete it. Since your district, go right ahead.
Commissioner Marino's waiting to be heard as well.
Oh, okay. Did you have anything?
My district too. I got lots of questions. Don't leave me out.
I
Hold on just 1 second, Commissioner Marino. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Commissioner
Did
Baxter?
I miss any?
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, we've completed all the lights. Go ahead, Commissioner Marino.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Fine, we can hear you fine.
Okay. I have thousands of pages of information. There is a lot of help we can search out for. I do agree that we should clarify the code. I do agree that a definition should only be in one place, and we need to be clear on what that definition is. We need to be clear on what a commercial vehicle is. We need to be clear on what a recreational vehicle is. We need to be clear on what is allowed about carports and storage. And I think before we make any decisions today, we have a lot more work to do. Having said that, there are 8 really important articles that we could all read. Truck parking article, the next South Florida real estate boom, that was just published. FDOT has a statewide truck parking study, that was March 2020. The Federal Highway Administration has the FAST Act, which is Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act. There are dollars available. The US DOT, the eligibility of Title 23 and 49 federal funds for commercial motor vehicle parking. There is a statewide truck parking workshop paper that was done in 2020, a statewide truck parking initiative that was done in 2021. There's a federal memorandum and implementation of National Highway Freight Program, that was December 14th, 2022. Truck Parking Development Handbook, September 2020. I've had discussions with Jerry O'Reilly from FDOT here, our local representative. I've asked him about FDOT surplus lands near 95 and the airport, et cetera. He's looking into that for us because they do have surplus land when they buy land for exits and entrances and exits, and they might redesign them. They might not need as much land as they have, being that these would be on a corridor that would be more, let's say, less residential, more commercial. That would be an ideal place for truck storage. I've also spoke with Matt Ledger from the Realtors Association, and I am going to pose to him that there be some workshop with the realtors about what is and isn't allowed and how they get their information. I know Patrick, I think I put you in touch with him yesterday. I don't see us doing a spot zoning in the acreage, and that's not legal. And to do something, we now have spent lots of time on all of our overlays to protect them. And what have we done with that? So I am in favor of clarifications. I'm not in favor of doing anything rash at this moment. I also have a question, Patrick. I know that this was supposed to be a discussion. I think the way this was handled today was not accurate, not appropriate. But has anyone lost their house due to code liens? Because, we've heard a lot of I'm losing my house, and I don't believe that has happened. So is there a yes or no answer to that?
No one has lost their house due to code liens.
Just 1 minute. Commissioner.
He answered it.
He answered
No, we have not foreclosed on anyone's
back to you in a
home
minute.
in this regard. And when the liens accrue, normally what happens is we try to get it settled when they come into compliance. And if not, we send it over to our collection, our OFMB for the collection agency. And when people are ready to sell, they come in and they settle, and we settle for a significant lower amount than what those fines accrued for. Our goal is definitely not to put people out of their homes, but to just bring them into compliance with the code.
Good, thank you, Commissioner Marino, are you continuing?
May I continue?
You may, go right ahead.
Please. Thank you. I did watch Commissioner Baxter's presentation last week, and I did hear a lot of information. So there are more questions that I would like clarity on. There was a lot of discussion about accessory buildings and permitting of accessory buildings. So I would like further discussion on that and clarification. I know that a lot of people were concerned about flood issues, flood doors, that kind of thing. And there was also a comment about how the county got rid of records from 2000 forward, and therefore everybody before that should be grandfathered in. I mean, there were a lot of things that were said at the workshop that, because it was, just people talking and not having the ability to have someone from code or from planning and zoning answer their questions. I do have a list that I'm happy to supply and I'm happy to supply it to the rest of the commissioners too. I don't want this to be a battle. I really want us to determine what we have allowed people to do. And I don't mean allowed. I mean, what is in the code? What is in a statute? And I know that there's a lot of discussion about how many recreational vehicles are allowed. I heard someone at the meeting say there should be no limitations. And I do realize people's livelihoods are at stake, but you have 17,000 homes in the acreage. I got a lot of emails. I read every single email that came to me. There's 400 in my inbox right now. I read every single one that came to me. And yes, there were people that wanted tractor trailers, and there were people that didn't want tractor trailers. There were people that wanted information about commercial vehicles. I'm not going to continue on that, but I don't think we should be changing code right now. I think we should be not monitoring, but I think we should be going through, and if there is misinformation or one is different than another, that needs to be cleared up. And I think that's what is incumbent upon us now. Our staff was supposed to give a complete presentation today. That did not happen. I would like that complete presentation. So I will also echo what Max said. I think this needs to be its own workshop. I hate workshops because it just seems like it kicks the can down the road, but there has to be a better way to do this than what we're doing today, because I don't think this is the right way to do it. And now since I've pretty much lost my voice, I think I will stop there.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Marino, and thank you for participating in this in your condition. Please know that you can email all of us the rest of your suggestions. I'm going to turn now to Commissioner Baxter, and then I have a few words to say. Go right ahead, Commissioner.
There were already boundaries made for the acreage. If we did limit this at some point, say we didn't all agree, but, say we did agree that it would just partake or concern the acreage of Loxahatchee, is that considered spot zoning? There are already lines drawn?
Spot zoning,
I don't know if that's legal, but.
No, I'm
go ahead.
asking, is that spot zoning?
spot zoning is typically for smaller areas of land. We'd have to do some research into that, but generally speaking, it's when one area within a greater area is treated more preferentially or differently than the rest in terms of rezoning and such.
So this might be large enough to not actually be considered spot zoning?
Once we get to the point of having more information about what is being directed or requested by the commission, we can look into that, and also how it relates to the code and how the area would be defined and what other areas contain as it relates to the proposed regulations and how it would be treated differently.
Also, when we have conflicting direction given, what happens?
There's conflicting information. County Administrator, I will ask the board to be very clear about the direction that's being given. To wit, this one, if we don't understand it fully up front, I will prompt you and ask you to make sure we understand very clearly, so the expectation that you set is the understanding that we have.
So I gave a decent amount of direction, so I'm just wondering how much of that is, recognized or moved forward.
Look for the board's confirmation on that. If I could, I would ask one thing, and Commissioner, you brought up landscape services as well. If I may, that was 4 years of work. There was a lot. Opening that back up again will be a lot of work. The truck piece of it, where it may goes a lot. If I could ask the board, can we work through the truck and where the board may want to go potentially with that piece, and we work forward. As looking at the four that were denied, I think they were done with prejudice or without, so they're eligible to return.
They were all done with, the 4 public hearing applications for subdivision waivers were denied with prejudice. So they can't come back for 1 year? 1 year.
From what date?
That year's coming up, actually, from March or May of last year. So, yeah, their time frame is going to lapse shortly
So
to be able to come back in.
Thank you. So Commissioner, to your point, if we could, you heard that piece of it there, back to the truck piece, if that's the board's direction overall, I think we would ask as well, if, again, on board direction, we would love the opportunity to do a reach out to the public and conduct kind of an open meeting. I think you forwarded me your survey information, which is awesome, but we'd love to have one listening tour at least in here and kind of aggregate those pieces. It might be done virtually or otherwise, but at least have that opportunity. And I'm looking at Lisa to not put too much on her. Can we get all that done for April, or do we need May?
No, we're going to need more time certainly on this.
Well,
so.
to listen, if we had direction to do anything today, I would love to have the opportunity to hear more with the individuals in the room.
Right, and just arrange kind of meetings with those individuals. I'm not talking about see where we stand now, but we literally have a workshop next week to, I don't know, is there going to be time on that workshop to finish this up, or is it taking up all day?
No.
No. Are we, Commissioner Baxter, are you talking about the ag workshop? No. If you
It's
just
gonna be all
hold
day.
your horses there for a minute, just pause that truck. So let's go over to County Administrator Baker. Did you want to pipe in on this?
No, just simply what Patrick stated. In order to give us direction, it should be the majority of the board here with those directions so that we can move forward. I think one of the things is the clarity of the language and consolidating it. That is something that we want to do because it'll make our life a lot easier as well. And so that person can go directly in. I think that we can definitely handle that portion. But any other changes, I think that direction should be the majority of the board giving us those directions.
When was the last time that that these ordinances were drafted and reviewed?
pieces pertaining to this truck parking was 2019. Prior to that was 2008.
2008 was the majority.
2019 was the most recent. Prior to that
That
was
was-
2008. So it's been in spits and spurts through the years. Vice Mayor, if I may, too, one other thing, by way of a structure, if the board did want to give us direction to go back and contemplate that, I think we'd love to come back after a listening tour with a framework and come back and talk to you with, there might be a couple options built into it sort of thing, but something tightened down based on the feedback we got, but we would come back to you again in a more informal setting to talk that through and make sure that the direction is clear. We would turn that into code words.
If I may, Mr. Rutter, if we could have those here on the commission who know more about this or whose constituents are living this to give you specific directions on exactly what you should review with regard to clarifying the code, defining the terms in the code, and in light of the changes that have occurred in our community since 2008, when it was probably comprehensively reviewed, and then 2018 or 19 when you reviewed the trucking issue. So I would suggest, this is really going to need all of us to vote on it, or at least to opine on it, if I would suggest that we could, those of us here who have the most involvement with this, give you specific instances of areas that need to be clarified and defined, and then you all could work on it as a team of staff, and then we'll have another workshop in terms of what if those areas of the code really help and define and assist the people in being able to operate their businesses and keep their homes. Would anybody like to opine on this a little bit? Before I get to you, because I want you to be last, okay? Anybody over here on the left? Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with this. I know we gave you a lot of different sort of direction, but it's really still getting to the same thing in how I believe to find owner-operators who are operating their small business out of their homes. You know, if you could come back with suggestions after discussing with the various stakeholders the best way to make this possible. I do believe that they want to be good neighbors, and as we all do, and be able to operate their business as well. I hope that there's a path forward that we can find that most people will find palatable. I do believe that we can, so I agree very much with this.
Thank you very much. And if nobody else has anything to say, I'd like to finish with Commissioner Baxter.
Hello? I'm sorry.
No, go right-
I've got to breathe. I don't want to come back later. I want it out now. We currently have rules and regulations in place. I think part of the issue is communication and clarifying all of that. So we understand that. But I think it puts us staff in a difficult position because the board currently has policies in place. And if the board is directing us to come back with recommendations to that policy, we need clear direction on that so that we don't make the situation worse than it already is. And so I think that I am not totally clear. I'm clear on clarification of the code, putting all that stuff in one area, definitions, making sure that that happens. Maybe that is what we need to put together, come back to the board at that point and finish the presentation that we had so that we can all get a really good, clear picture. And then the board can, you know, at that point tell us, we don't like this, we don't like that, we want you to make these kind of changes. So go back and based upon parameters, come back with recommendations, because we can come up with all kinds of recommendations, but it needs to be something that the community, we can try to pull us all together, and something that the board as a whole can support, as opposed to coming in with different recommendations and making the situation much worse than it currently is.
Absolutely, and you know what, the law is a law, and everybody has to abide by the law as it is today. But the law is changing in different ways so as to conform to what the people need. And so if staff could look at those terms, define the terms, I believe that there is a couple of terms that are not well-defined. They need to be. and also to look at the changed circumstances of our county and our community, and then bring that back to us so that then we can hear from the people and what the residents need to operate their businesses safely, profitably, and for people to be able to have safe and quiet neighborhoods as well. So all this needs to happen, but first, we need to have this clarification on what the law is. And that's something that is best done by staff. That's only a recommendation, Administrator Baker. But if we haven't looked at this since 2008 and then redefined it in 15 for trucks, it's time. We've changed a lot. It's time. So I would recommend, and Commissioner Baxter, since this is your idea, I'm definitely going to let you finish this up.
Thank you.
We'll do
Couple
that.
things.
But before you do, I know you're dying to. I would like staff to do that, and is that acceptable to staff? And I'm looking at you, Ms. Baker, because you're the head of staff. Is that acceptable to staff to do that?
We will do what this board directs us to do. I think Commissioner Marino is trying to cut in as well.
Okay. Is that what you wanted to say, Ms. Woodward?
I just wanted to clarify what you're offering to bring back to us specifically narrows down what is allowed as far as the trucks, and then we'll be able to work forward from there on any changes that will be made after. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Has anybody heard from Commissioner Marino?
I'm here. I've been waiting.
I can hear you. Go ahead, Commissioner Marino. You're recognized.
Thank you. All right. As to spot zoning, this change for trucks would affect anybody in the AR community. So while it may only be a discussion in the acreage, AR communities are all over the county. So it would be considered spot zoning because it affects Jupiter Farms, it affects Palm Beach Country Estates, it affects Heritage Farms, it affects Pioneer Road, and there's a lot of other areas that are zoned AR. So whatever the definition of spot zoning is and how it applies here, I would suggest we make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's properly. Also, several months back, I had a discussion with GL Homes because in their project that they're going to be doing in the ITID district up there at the north end, I said to them, don't you have land that could be industrial, that could be truck parking? And the answer was yes. And it was, it was not a small amount of land either. I think it was 25 or 29 acres that they were talking about, that they've already committed to a parcel like this. So if it is doable, and that's something else we can work out, is maybe instead of having the trucks parked in the residences, they have something very close where they can park, and it would be, from what I was told, right off the main thoroughfare, so it wouldn't be on any of the ITID roads. Also, and I threw this out to Virginia last night, so Virginia, don't roll your eyes since I can't see you.
She wasn't rolling her eyes, Commissioner Moreno.
She rolling her eyes. The county has property at 20 Mile Bend that we were trying to put an ATV park on, but that RFP failed, and no one actually submitted. So that might be another possibility of where we could possibly have storage. I have heard everybody about saying the safety of storage and whatnot, and I can't imagine that's if you hear the police today, they're going to tell you how normal communities, POAs, HOAs, gated communities, everybody's cars are getting broken into. So it's a question of security. I understand that. I'm not trying to make people spend tons and tons of money to park their vehicles, but I don't want to say, yes, you can have a tractor trailer truck in the acreage and there's 17,000 parcels, because now that's going to become 17. There are going to be all kinds of more trucks that will be coming into that area. It will become a truck stop. I don't want that. I don't want to keep people from being small business owners. I don't want to keep owner operators from doing their business, but I don't believe that parking a 56-foot tractor trailer in your property, or in the case of Jupiter Farms, you all received a letter from John Myers, who is the person that runs South Indian River Water Control Management District. Those roadways cannot tolerate it, and they can't have people parking on the swales. The roads are narrow. He sent pictures of what they're doing now. So this is a very, very dangerous door that we are opening. I do not want to put anybody out of business. Let me repeat myself. Well, all I've heard are complaints. I haven't heard solutions. I've just given you two. And I think that by clarifying code and going forward, I think that's our first step. And then we can go, the next step will be how do we house these tractor trailers that need to be housed somewhere?
Thank you very much.
I think I'm done.
Okay, thank you. We're going to close this session with Commissioner Baxter, who had requested it, and then we're going to give direction to staff, with the permission of Administrator Baker, on rewriting, redefining, reclarifying the code as it exists today for the entire Palm Beach County. We'll get a date from you that would be acceptable, so you can think about that while she speaks. And then we will get direction and come back here for an open discussion and a forum and a workshop of what would work for the people of this county. So with that, we're going to close with you. Commissioner Baxter, go right ahead.
Thank you. A few things I want to address. The 30 acres that she was referencing that GL Home is talking about is in exchange for us selling out the ag reserve. I haven't reached that conclusion, that that's an acceptable trade-off at all.
That's not correct. That is not correct.
Okay,
Commissioner-
Commissioner Marino, Commissioner Marino, please, we're concluding this. We're going to stay on the topic.
Misinformation. I'm sorry.
That's
It's
okay.
misinformation.
So I'm hoping that's misinformation, but I specifically asked, and they said it was in exchange for doing the swap. That's what I was told. Maybe another
Commissioner
commissioner.
Baxter, if we could just keep to the issue on point. I know everybody wants to be able to conclude this, but to have a successful resolution. So let's stick specifically to closing this issue today. I've given you that courtesy.
So I do want to agree that this wasn't the appropriate form, and I'm not sure whose decision it was under comments. So when we came before the board and heard a lot of this, we asked to come back in March and try to help with some of these code problems. This has become a terrible case of kick the can down the road. Every time we come here, it's, oh, well, let's put this off for another couple months. Let's put it off for another couple months. And we have real people that need help. We were patient enough when the board said we don't want to hear anything about, the moratorium on fines because it was coming back in March. Here we are in March, and we're kicking it down the road again. This is becoming a bad joke at this point. I would like, with some discretion, I would like to see this sooner than later. I mean, we can't keep just putting this off. And where, yes, it does affect, and I'm more than willing to limit direction to the acreage Loxahatchee, I heard from a lot of Jupiter Farms residents that would absolutely love a pathway forward, which is why I didn't start off with, can we just limit this? That would actually like to owner-operate. I agree with Commissioner Woodward, I always want to call her Marcy, sorry, with Commissioner Woodward on a path forward for owner-operators. We're not talking about big, expensive lots, but if nothing else from today, let's clarify the code, consolidate what we were talking about so it's easier for residents as well, and a pathway forward for these owner-operators. And Commissioner Bernard, before he left, had agreed with that as well, and Commissioner Woodward, and I think Commissioner Sachs. And so I think we have a pretty good majority on this, but I don't want to keep kicking down the road every couple months to come back.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, can we get a confirmation from staff that this is something that you could work on? And what we're talking about is redefining the code when it comes to the ordinance, when it comes to the code on code enforcement for the entire county. So it brings in not just the acreage, but Jupiter Farms and all of the areas of Palm Beach County. And I'm sure we have a lot of these areas, even in the Glades area. And if we could have, and this is not going to kick the can, we're going to have you review the code. And I'm so glad I have the two code enforcers right in front of me. I've seen you guys out on the field. If we could have you work with staff to redefine it, clarify the terms, and then come back to us with your suggestions, and then we could open it up to a workshop, and it would be for all the people in Palm Beach County, the Glades, Jupiter Farms, Ag Reserve, even Boca Raton, and Lake Worth. So is that something that the staff can do, Mr. Rudder?
Yes, and just to be clear, a couple different pieces of it. I think we're looking at, and I hope Lisa doesn't kill me when I say this, we'd look to come back in April with a menu of that assessment. And there's probably going to be some column 1, column 2 type pieces, move off
As
of
an
these.
agenda item, please.
Okay, got you. Heard you on that.
Not under comments.
Heard you on that point, yes, ma'am. Also, the direction, make sure we're clear too. We want to have our public listening session, and Commissioner, we asked all board members' offices for anyone they had that would like us to reach out to, but we'd like to conduct one listening session, if you will, from everybody, just to get that sort of feedback, and then come back to you with probably a menu to some degree, explanation of what we see as needs to be changed, and a menu for you to direct us. If we come out of that next meeting with very clear points, we will turn that into code words.
You have enough time before April to do this, in terms that you haven't reviewed this since 2008? This is something that you could do and bring us.
Well, we did a
some
lot of
specific
review
points.
to prepare for today.
Okay,
I think
good.
the big thing that we need to look at is the approved home occupations that are out there, which we can get that data.
Right.
And also, the listening, because it matters a lot, the difference between a 12,500 pound vehicle versus a 14,500 pound vehicle, which is currently not allowed. But it's really, if you could looking at them, I don't think you can tell the difference. So we need to hear what the folks have, what they're doing, what they're approved, look at. And we have the ability to look and listen for a month and combine that with some of the work that we already did. We're more than on board for that.
Very good, thank you. And I would suggest to my fellow commissioners to send to you what we have heard from our constituents that are important, whether it's parking their RVs or their big rigs or whatever it is, so that you have a little sense of what the people in the entire county would like. And before I recognize you, Ms. Baker, Commissioner Marino, did you want to say something at this point, or do you want to wait till comments?
No, I just wanted to apologize for my outburst, but it's awfully hard to be recognized when you're not in the room. And I will reach out to the folks at GL Homes. There are two different opinions on the table. That is not something good. That's what leads to misinformation and disinformation. So I will get clarity on what the land is that they were talking about, because if Sarah is correct, then I owe her an apology. If she's not correct, then we just don't have misinformation out there.
That's quite all right. That's why we have open forums, so we can express ourselves.
It's hard when you
It
can't
is.
see
It is.
somebody.
We hope you get better. So if nobody has anything else to say, I think staff has that direction. And at this point, do we have a date for that so that it's public record? Mr. Rutter, I hate.
April BCC zoning meeting is, sorry, you get the first.
April 27th.
There you
April
have it.
27th. April 27th, we will be back here.
Yes.
At a workshop, but before that time, you'll let all of us get a little draft of what you're working on so that we can be prepared and our residents can be prepared. I know so thank you very much for that. Do we have comments at this point, even though this is not an agenda item?
Yes.
Do we need to go over comments, or we can adjourn? Oh, okay, Commissioner Marks, go ahead.
Sorry, just one comment. District 4 FAU Owls are still in the March Madness games tonight, so I think it's a late game, but they don't last very long, and hopefully we'll be celebrating them making it to the 8.
Yes.
So, thanks.
Congratulations, Owls, FAU. Sweet 16. Any other comments at this point? Okay, I think
No, I was, sorry, I'll turn my light off. I just wanted to hand the paper I read from to them as this was the direction given.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And you did a good job. Anybody else? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.